I shot a video talking about how to install a webcam on Fluid. And in this video, I will continue the topic about the second webcam installations and the time-lapse setup. Hi, welcome to Slow Engineering. I'm David. On the Fluid website, it shows it supports up to 4 cameras by default. The only things you need to do is copying and changing the file name into webcam1.txt as the second camera configuration. But the fact I found is you have to name your second camera as webcam2.txt instead of webcam1.txt. But you still need to set the port for the second camera to port 8081. I don't know why the setting with webcam1.txt and port 8081 always crashes on Fluid. At least for my settings, it is. I didn't check for the third one because only 2 cameras have already consumed a lot of Raspberry Pi resources. One for the time-lapse at the front and the second camera is for overview on the top. I also checked about the type of webcams. Some high-end webcams are not supported by the V4L2, and it makes them hard to set up on Pi. I use a Makose 4K USB webcam at the front and a Logitech C930C webcams on the top for my Voron. The reason for using 4K at the front because the resolution isn't really good with only 1080p. So, consider using a 4K camera to get nice time lapses. Head back to the settings. First, you need to get your camera IDs for certain camera settings. Type following commands to list your camera IDs via PuTTY, the shortened IDs. Like the details I showed, they have different IDs. These IDs are important when you set up the second camera. Next, set out the entire path for V4L to capture the images by adding the directories into webcam.txt and webcam2.txt. Like located as the screen shows, you can also set the camera resolutions and frame rate you want here. I also found some useful parameters for V4L2 to adjust your webcams. Type V4L2-CTL -D -0 -L and get all the parameters you can change. Pick up the one you want to change, like brightness. Then head back to the webcam.txt and type down V4L2-CTL set-CTRL equal brightness equal 80 to change the brightness. You can command all the settings shown on the list directly via SSH. The camera will change the settings immediately to achieve your request to turn your best parameters. Then, you can leave the settings in the webcam.txt and they will automatically apply when you turn on the printer. These are some experiments I got for the second camera setup. The next part is the time-lapse. I didn't find Fluid provide the time-lapse functions as default, but I did find someone who built codes for the mainsails on Moonraker. So this code can also be used on Fluid. Follow the instructions on the GitHub page to install it on Pi. Go back to the Fluid interface and you can find a new icon for time-lapse on your lab toolbar. Head to the settings. There is also a new group of settings for camera, parking settings, nozzle settings when parking, etc. All other detailed settings are told in the instructions too. I use a layer macro to set up my time-lapse and insert the time-lapse command time-lapse take frame into the beginning of each layer in my Cura slicer settings. It can also use hyperlapse to get images depending on time. Setting up cameras for time-lapse is not hard. All you need to do is follow the sequence on the instruction page. But there is a thing I recommend to turn off is the auto rendering. If you plan to use 4K camera to shoot 4K films, disable the auto rendering function. Instead, download the images to your PC to do the rendering. My Raspberry Pi 4B meets the temperature limit when doing the rendering even on 1080p video. Thank you for watching to the end of this video. I hope you get something you want. I left all the details links below. Happy 3D time-lapse shooting!